What's it like working for Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest person with an estimated wealth of over 23 billion US dollars? Zambian entrepreneur Monica Musonda said it felt like doing an MBA. How We Made It in Africa recently interviewed Musonda, who started a successful instant noodles business in Zambia. Before starting her own business, Musonda spent about 4 years working for Dangote in Nigeria. In the interview, which you can watch on howwemadeitinafrica.com and our Patreon page, links in the description, Musonda described the experience working at Dangote Group. What was it like working for him? In a previous interview, you described it as doing an MBA.
Yeah, I still believe that, right? If I sit back now, I think what was great about it on a purely personal basis was it gave me courage. It made me see things. You lots of people will look at the continent and think, "Oh my goodness, all these problems." But he was such an optimist, an African optimist, right? And you saw things that people saw and were afraid of, and where he saw opportunity. And it made me think very much on a personal side that, well, I mean, clearly there must be a lot more out there at different scales, right? So I think it was great working with someone who's just such an optimist, who was also very courageous, but who was really, really good at business, right? So instead of spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars doing an MBA, which people do, and it does benefit them. I don't have an MBA, and I've been running my own business now for over 12 years. It was really the best. It was the best learning I could have done, was to work for him and the Dangote Group.
Dangote built his business empire from modest beginnings, using money borrowed from his uncle to trade in commodities like sugar, rice, and pasta. Over the past 5 decades, he has transformed that trading outfit into a pan-African industrial conglomerate with interests in cement, food, and oil refining. At an event at Lagos Business School a few years ago, Dangote shared just how intense his travel schedule can be. On some trips to China, he's in the country only for about 5 hours before he has to fly back. He doesn't use his private jet for those journeys because the crew would need to rest for 9 hours and he doesn't have 9 hours. So instead, he flies commercial with Emirates to keep things moving. Musonda says this is reflective of the way that he operated.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, right? It was always in a hurry to get stuff done. When you have the energy, I mean, you must, right? And I think it's very much the case of many of the African industrialists today. I think you use your private jet because you want to do many countries at the same time, but also it has its limitations when you have such long distances to travel.
Musonda first met Dangote while working as a lawyer at the International Finance Corporation in Washington, D.C., at a time when the institution was providing financing for one of his cement plants.
I think it's a great story. I always say this. I met him in a boardroom in Washington. I used to work in Washington D.C. for the International Finance Corporation, and they were financing his first cement line with other DFIs. And that was the first time I met him because he was coming obviously to look for his own financing, and we just got talking and really questioned why I was sitting in Washington when there was so much work to do in Africa. And it was the beginning of a really great a friendship, but also a real great mentorship kind of thing, and really open to getting talented Africans back on the continent. So that's how I ended up in Lagos and worked with him on his expansion strategy on the cement side, which is also very exciting for someone who was just an importer of cement when he first started and decided to build capacity in Nigeria and then decided to build capacity on the continent. And it's testimony to him because I think as much as people know that he's the world's richest man, which is African, I think what's important is a very, very successful industrialist. And I think that we don't say that enough. I mean, to enter some of these spaces that he has entered, which people would have thought was completely out of reach for African industrialists. And he's actually proved a lot of people wrong and continues to do so.
Thanks for watching, and remember the full interview is available on howwemadeitinafrica.com and our Patreon page. Our book, which came out a few years ago, also chronicles Musonda's entrepreneurship journey of building an instant noodles business in Zambia. Links to everything is in the description.